After the end of the Cold War, some believed that Russia could be integrated in Europe's economic and security architecture. Others hoped that we could rely indefinitely on America's full protection. The time of illusions is over now. Putin has proven time and again that he is a hostile neighbor. He cannot be trusted. He can only be deterred. And we know that Russia's military complex is outproducing ours. Europe's production is still on a lower order of magnitude.
This is my video update on this Tuesday afternoon, March the 11th, coming to you from Athens, Greece. In my video update yesterday, I said it was May the 10th. Obviously, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. I'm getting way ahead of myself. But March the 11th, 2025. And let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with the massive Ukraine drone strike into Russia. Last night, the Ukraine military launched over 330 drones into Russian territory, targeting Moscow and all kinds of cities all around Russia. Most of the drones were taken out by Russian air defense systems, but the drones did manage to either hit or land. Some drones managed to hit or land on apartment buildings, on roads. Some drones landed close to the airport, or a road leading up to the Domodedova airport in Moscow, outside of Moscow actually. They hit commercial buildings. It doesn't appear as if the Ukraine military was actually targeting military facilities or military assets. They just appear to have launched 330 plus drones into Russia, and wherever they landed, they landed. That's how it looked. An act of panic and desperation from the Zelensky regime, but not out of character, to be quite honest, because whenever Zelensky is about to suffer a big military defeat, like what he is about to suffer in Kursk, he always lashes out in this way. He launches some sort of reckless, crazy operation, military operation, or he launches drones into Russia with no military targets in mind. And he does this as a way to put some spin, some pro-Ukraine media spin to the collapse of his position on the front lines, or to distract away from a collapse that is about to take place, like Kursk, which is going to be his biggest collapse of the conflict. So this is very, very much in character for Zelensky, very much in character. And you also have the meeting that is taking place in Saudi Arabia with the US and the Ukraine delegation. So you had this drone attack into Russia on the same day that Yermak and his team is going to be meeting with Rubio and Witkoff and Waltz in Riyadh. So there must be something there as well. But the fact that this was the largest, one of the largest, if not the largest, drone strike into Russia since the start of the special military operation shows you how big of a collapse Kursk is going to be for Ukraine and for the Zelensky regime. But maybe a part of this drone attack was so that Yermak, when he is meeting with Rubio, Yermak can show Rubio, look, we can strike Russian territory. We still have the capabilities to strike Russian territory, so stick with us, don't abandon us. Or perhaps this is a way for Yermak to push the Macron no-fly zone ceasefire plan, because that plan calls for a no-fly zone. It also says that long-range strikes into Russia or Ukraine territory have to stop. So maybe this is Yermak's way of telling Rubio, we can hit Russia, and let's get this no-fly zone plan from Macron. Let's get this approved. Let's back this plan. And you can go to Russia and tell the Russian government if you want the drones to stop hitting Russian territory, then buy into the Macron no-fly zone plan. Something like that. Maybe the drone strike, this big, massive drone strike, was meant to strengthen Yermak's position as he pitches the no-fly zone plan from Macron, or to give Rubio and the United States something to take to Moscow, some sort of leverage to take to Moscow and tell them, well, if you want the UAVs to stop hitting targets, residential targets. There were casualties as well yesterday from the drone strikes. If you want this to stop, then you should also approve this no-fly zone plan from Macron. And that's the plan that would create a no-fly zone. And then after a couple of months, the French and the British troops would come in. Of course, a no-fly zone would have to be enforced by the United States. That's part of the plan. That's why you need the US is backing for this plan. So before we get to the meeting in Saudi Arabia, let's give a quick update on Kursk. Very quick update. The situation in Kursk is deteriorating for the Ukraine military and for the Zelensky regime very quickly, deteriorating very, very fast. The latest reports are that the last defense node around the city of Sudzha has been taken by the Russian military. And so the Ukraine military, the only place that they can defend or that they can hide is actually in the town of Sudzha. And from my understanding of Sudzha, it's not the best city to defend, to have some sort of a defense. It's not set up for a good defense, a good military defense. So the Ukraine military is pretty much stuck in Sudzha. They are trying to retreat. Syrskyi actually put out a post and said that the Ukraine military is now in an orderly retreat from Kursk, which is nonsense, absolute nonsense. But that's Syrskyi. This is also very common for Syrskyi. When his military is getting annihilated or is trapped or encircled somewhere, he always comes out with statements saying, no, everything is okay. It's an orderly retreat. Remember Avdiivka? It was Avdiivka, right, where it was just a catastrophe as Ukraine was retreating. They suffered huge losses. I imagine the same is going to happen in Kursk. It might even be worse than the losses in Avdiivka, as the Ukraine military was trying to get out of Avdiivka, and it was just chaos and panic. I don't think Kursk is going to be any different, but that's what Syrskyi, the statement that Syrskyi put out. Before I recorded this video, I was reading reports that the Russian military had actually captured parts of East Sudzha as well. But I'm not 100% certain of that. But I was reading some reports saying that the Russian military is now actually capturing portions of Sudzha. So the collapse in Kursk is going to happen within the next couple of days, I imagine. And I don't know what Ukrainian forces are going to be able to get out of Kursk. I expect a lot of surrenders, and whatever forces decide to stay and fight. I don't know what to say. Let's talk about Saudi Arabia and the meeting between Yermak and Rubio and Waltz and the parakeets. And we got butterflies around here. And Rubio, Waltz, Witkoff, and Yermak and his people. And Yermak was suiting up He was suiting up, everybody. That's right. Yermak has been wearing a costume much like Zelensky, his entertainment lawyer, Andrei Yermak, the man who many believe actually runs the show in Kiev. Yeah, he actually wore a suit. He got dressed up. He wore a freaking suit. Oh boy, you know that the end is near when Yermak is wearing a suit. You know that the end is days away when you see Zelensky wearing a suit. And Zelensky, one of these days, he's going to break out the suit, and that's when you know it's finito. It's game over. But they're meeting right now in Saudi Arabia. I imagine by the time I publish this video, maybe we'll get some statements from either of the sides. Maybe both sides will issue some statements as to what they discussed or the results of the discussions. But Rubio, on the way over to Saudi Arabia, he spoke to reporters. And he talked about how Ukraine must cede territory if there's going to be any peace deal. This is according to the New York Times. The Secretary of State, heading to talks with Ukraine officials in Saudi Arabia, said future talks with Moscow will be needed to determine what Russia is willing to give up to end the war. Yeah, so Rubio said, look, Ukraine is going to have to cede territory. They're going to have to make big concessions. He also said that Russia is going to have to make big concessions as well. This is how we're going to get to peace. Rubio said, obviously, it will be very difficult for Ukraine in any reasonable time period to sort of force the Russians back all the way to where they were in 2014. Rubio told the New York Times, the most important thing that we have to leave here with is a strong sense that Ukraine is prepared to do difficult things, just as the Russians are going to have to do difficult things to end this conflict, or at least pause it in some way, shape, or form, he added. I think both sides need to come to an understanding that there's no military solution to this situation. So Rubio talks about concessions that are going to have to be made by Ukraine. He talks about how Ukraine is going to have to cede territory. But he also talks about concessions that Russia is going to have to make, but he talks about a pause. He also mentions some sort of a pause that they're aiming for, or at least pause it in some way, shape, or form. That's what he says. Russians are going to have to do difficult things to end this conflict, or at least pause it in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know if Rubio is saying this just because the media expects him to say this, or just to calm down the Ukrainians or the collective West as he's about to enter into some sort of talks with Yermak, or if he really means this. If the goal of the negotiations really is to take some sort of a ceasefire plan or some sort of a pause to Russia that the Ukrainians agree to. The Ukrainians agree to some sort of framework which incorporates some sort of a ceasefire or pause, and maybe the goal is to take it to Russia and to say, okay, Ukraine agrees to this. Can we get some sort of a temporary pause or a ceasefire? And to see if the Russians agree to it. I don't know. I don't know what the aim is. But Russia said it 1,000 times. No pause, no ceasefire. They will enter into, they will agree to a ceasefire if Istanbul Plus, if the conditions for that are met. And I've described Istanbul Plus 1,000 times in multiple videos, so we know what Istanbul Plus means, but that's the only way that Russia will agree to some sort of a ceasefire. Istanbul Plus, sanctions relief, no NATO. These are the things that Russia's looking for. And these are things that I believe is going to be impossible for Yermak to agree to. And if Yermak agrees to such things, then a couple of weeks down the line, they're going to just ignore whatever they've agreed to. They're going to tear up whatever deal they have with the United States. they're incapable of agreeing to Istanbul Plus, at least the current Ukraine regime, which is why you have to get a new regime in place if you're going to negotiate any type of a deal with Russia. But that's what Rubio said. We will have to wait to see the outcome of the meetings. Witkoff, before he left for Saudi Arabia, he spoke to Fox News, and Witkoff said that U.S. intel sharing with Ukraine was never shut off. That is what he told Fox News. And he clarified his statement by saying that at the moment, intel sharing for defensive purposes with Ukraine was never shut off and remains. The other types of intel sharing, he didn't really get into any of the specifics there. But as far as intel sharing for defensive reasons, that's still going on with Ukraine. So he said that. And Witkoff, he also, what else did Witkoff say? Well, Witkoff's going to be going to Moscow, or at least Axios is reporting that after the meeting in Saudi Arabia, he's going to go to Moscow to actually meet with Putin. Trump envoy plans talks with Putin in Russia after US-Ukraine summit. So we'll see if that reporting is true, if Witkoff does actually go to Moscow after the meeting with Saudi Arabia. That's actually an encouraging sign if Witkoff does go to Moscow and actually meets with Putin. It leads me to believe that he's going to take whatever agreement he gets from Yermak, and he's going to actually meet one-on-one with Putin and pitch it to Putin, and they're going to talk about it, and they're going to try to come to some sort of an understanding as to what they're going to need to further convince Ukraine to get to a peace deal. I don't know, maybe something like that. So it could be an encouraging sign, the fact that it'll be Witkoff and Putin meeting to discuss the negotiations that took place in Saudi Arabia. It shows a level of cooperation between Russia and the United States, or the United States willing to cooperate with Russia so that they can try to find a way to end the conflict, for which Putin, I imagine, is going to tell Witkoff, Istanbul Plus. Let's try to get Ukraine to Istanbul Plus. Well, Yermak is not having any of it. President Putin, well, I guess we're going to have to remove Yermak and Zelensky. I can't see any other path forward. But what else did Witkoff tell Fox? Oh, he told Fox before he left for Saudi Arabia that Zelensky has apologized to Trump, and a lot of people are seeing this as an official Zelensky apology. That the other day Zelensky sent a letter to Trump and he apologized for everything that happened in the White House, because Witkoff said that Zelensky sent a letter to Trump. He apologized, and that's an encouraging sign, and we're all good. And now I'm going to be flying to Saudi Arabia to negotiate with Ukraine. I listened to the interview of Witkoff on Fox News, and let me read you what he said, what he was saying to Fox News. Zelensky sent a letter to the president. He apologized for that whole incident that happened in the Oval Office, Witkoff stated. I think that it was an important step, and there's been a lot of discussion between our teams and the Ukrainians and the Europeans who are relevant to this discussion as well.
Bill, I hope so. Zelensky sent a letter to the president. He apologized for that whole incident that happened in the Oval Office. I think that was an important step. And there's been a lot of discussion between our teams and the Ukrainians and the Europeans who are relevant to this discussion as well. And I would like to describe it as progress. And so I would hope that there's a deal.
So what Witkoff is talking about is the letter that allegedly Zelensky sent to Trump about a week ago, was it a week ago? Week and a half ago, which Trump referenced in his speech to Congress, of which Zelensky posted on his X account a week and a half ago. That's the letter that I think Witkoff is mentioning to Fox News, not some sort of new letter or new apology that Zelensky issued yesterday or something like that. No, Witkoff is referencing the letter from a week and a half ago, which really was not an apology when you read the post on X, which was the letter that allegedly Trump received and he mentioned to Congress in his speech. You read through that thing and there's no apology in there. There's no I'm sorry. There's none of that in there. So I don't know what Witkoff is getting at when he says that Ukraine has apologized and all is good. I just think this is a type of way for Witkoff to start off the negotiations with Ukraine on some sort of a positive footing or something, to give Ukraine something, some sort of good vibes before he meets with Yermak and his guys. So that was Witkoff on Fox News. Let's now talk about X, which is under attack. Cyberattack. Yeah, X was down this morning here in Greece. It was down yesterday evening. Elon Musk came out with a post saying that there was a big cyber attack against X. He actually said that X is constantly undergoing attacks, but this one was a big one, and they're working on restoring the service. And Elon Musk said that this has to be done by some sort of country or an intel agency or something like that. There's no way this was just a group of hackers or anything along those lines. And he was giving an interview, I believe, also to Fox News yesterday, and he was asked about the cyber attack on X, and Musk revealed that the cyber attack was traced to the region of Ukraine, the region, area, country of Ukraine. That is what he said. Now, that doesn't mean that Ukraine was behind this. It could mean that Ukraine was behind this, but it doesn't mean that Ukraine was behind this. Obviously, there's a lot of ways for hackers, very experienced professional cyber hackers, cyber attackers, to mask where they're hacking from, where they're attacking you from. So it could have come from Ukraine. It could have not come from Ukraine. It could have come from the United States. And they want Elon Musk to believe this was coming from Ukraine. It could have come from the CIA or the deep state who's been working with Ukraine. Maybe they were the ones behind it. I don't know. It could have come from USAID. It could have come from a number of organizations or countries that have an in for Trump and for X, for Musk. There's all kinds of issues with Tesla now. There's all kinds of protests with Tesla in the United States, from what I understand. All kinds of violence against Tesla automobiles. I mean, are they still called automobiles or are they called EVs? I don't know. Yeah, so who knows? Who knows who was behind this attack? But it was significant. It was significant, and it's still going on because X is still having trouble. But we'll probably never find out. I don't know. I have a feeling we'll never find out who was attacking X. But Elon Musk did not look happy in his interview with Fox. Tulsi Gabbard, she removed the security clearance for Blinken, for Sullivan, for who else? For Bragg, for Andrew Weissman, Mark Zaid, Norman Eisen, Lisa Monaco, and the 51 signers of the Hunter Biden disinformation letter. They have had their security clearance revoked. It's about time. You know that Blinken and Sullivan are furious about this. They must be absolutely furious that they've had their security clearance revoked. It's about freaking time. Maybe Blinken's not so concerned, because the last I heard from Blinken is that he's a street performer in D.C. playing Rocking to the Free World, or he's a street performer in Kiev, rocking out, playing his guitar and rocking out. He's doing the bar and pub scenes around Europe. His group, Blinkin and the Cruisers. I don't know. That's not a very good name for a rock group. Anyway, let's that's Blinkin. Let's do some clown worlds and we can wrap this video up. The North Korean troops are back, according to the New York Times. With drones and North Korean troops, Russia pushes back Ukraine's offensive. Russia has retaken about 2/3 of the territory Ukraine seized last summer in the Kursk region of Russia, but at a fearful cost in lives. That's right. It wasn't the Russian military. It was North Korea. And drones. It was North Korean soldiers and drones that pushed the Ukraine military out of Kursk. Yeah. New York Times, everybody. That's what they're going to go with. Justin Trudeau, he has left the Canadian Parliament. And with him, he is taking his chair and he's sticking out his tongue. Unless this is an AI photo, then Trudeau is very creepy. Very creepy. And finally, we have reports that the Ukraine Parliament, or at least the servant of the People's Party, which is Zelensky's parliament in Ukraine, they want to place a statue of George Washington in Kiev in order to sweeten up Trump and the United States. Yeah, that's going to work. Put a statue of George Washington in Kiev, and then Trump is he's going to put U.S. boots on the ground in Ukraine. Absolutely. That was what was missing. Ukraine Parliament, that was it. All Trump wanted was a statue of Washington. That's it. Now the United States and NATO, they're going to be full speed, full force into Ukraine to fight Russia. World War III. Because of the statue of George Washington in Kiev. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch like what I'm wearing in this video update. The link is in the description box down below. Take care.